Hello, friends. It's incredible how the official terrestrial science is gradually confirming the information transmitted to us by the messages from heaven, but they are thousands or millions of years ahead of us. All high technology is undistinguishable from magic, and that is why they were worshipped as gods. Opinion articles. Gateway to the fifth dimension. Spanish and German scientists discover a portal halfway between the visible universe and dark matter. New technologies give power back to every citizen. Citizens want to be free and demand freedom of opinion. Judges warn about the reform of freedom of expression. Spain's hoteliers are fed up with paying for the broken dishes. Peruvian government declares mental health of national interest. US eviction courts are overcrowded with cases. Trump was unhappy with his lawyer's performer and was screaming. Britain's Queen lobbied the government to hide her wealth. Bitcoin sets new all-time record by hitting $48,000. China and SWIFT set up company to bolster old economic system. China is developing a sixth-generation fighter to attack Taiwan. First space probes, Chinese and Arabian, reach Mars orbit. European Space Agency is looking for new younger astronauts. Let's start. Scientists of the University of Granada in Spain and the Johannes Gutenberg University in Mainz, Germany, have found in the labyrinths of equations formulated by Einstein in 1915 a hypothetical particle that could act as a portal to the fifth dimension of the cosmos, located halfway between the visible universe and the dark matter, according to Eduardo Martínez de la Fe. The way to dark matter and other fundamental enigmas may be throughout a warped extra dimension, according to a new study that proposes a new theory of the universe. Scientists want to look for a hypothetical particle that could act as a portal to a fifth dimension between the cosmic realms of light and dark, according to Becky Ferreira. Particles. The new research presents a model of the universe with a fifth dimension that can be traversed by particles, throughout which fermions would enter and exit, prompting the mysterious surrounding their behavior when detected from a four-dimensional universe including time. A fermion is one of the two basic types of elementary particles that exist in nature. The other type is the boson. In the official model of physics, there are two fundamental types of fermions, quarks and leptons. Fermions are considered the basic constituents of matter. This type of particle is named after the Italian scientist Enrico Fermi. The existence of this speculative particle could provide a natural explanation for the abundance of dark matter, an identified substance that accounts for most of the mass of the universe, as well as solve intractable problems about the subatomic particles known as fermions, according to the new research, which was published last month in the European Physical Journal. The study adds that the presence of new physics can explain these fundamental mysteries by presenting a model of the universe with a fifth dimension that can be transferred by particles. The study adds that the presence of this speculative particle may also explain some of the mysteries surrounding fermions, which behave as if they were simultaneously particles and antiparticles, and never forms or a quantum state, and never form a quantum state, among other amazing peculiarities. I repeat it. and never form a quantum state, among other amazing peculiarities. New model of the universe. Researchers have been able to glimpse this possible explanation throughout the so-called Einstein field equations, which relate the presence of matter to the curvature of space-time. To these equations, they added another later theory known as the Kaluza-Klein theory, which considers a five-dimensional space-time. Starting from these previous models, the researchers worked out five-dimensional field equations to see if, in this theoretical context, something could be clarified about dark matter and the mystery of fermions. The result of this mathematical speculation indicates the presence of a field associated with a speculative particle that, according to the researchers, is quite similar to the highest field and the famous particle known as the Higgs boson. However, unlike the Higgs boson discovered at CERN's Large Hadron Collider in 2012, after a search of more than 40 years, the particle proposed by these researchers is so heavy that it couldn't be produced directly in these experiments. What is the fifth dimension? The term fifth dimension is an abstraction that appears in contexts such as theoretical physics, mathematics, spirituality, or science fiction. It essentially refers to the use of five-dimensional geometric spaces. In physics, the fifth dimension is an hypothetical extra dimension beyond the three dimensions of space and one of time. Some scientists have speculated that the graviton, a particle that is associated with the effects of the force of gravity, can go out into a fifth or more dimension, which would explain why the force of gravity is much weaker than other fundamental forces. The Kaluza-Klein theory uses the fifth dimension to unify gravity with the electromagnetic force. The idea is that a particle in an electromagnetic field, and therefore apparently not following the straightest possible line as seen from the three spatial dimensions, can be treated mathematically as a particle following the straightest possible line, the so-called geodesic line of a space-time with an extra dimension. This theory uses a formalism similar to that of the theory of the general relativity, although with an extra dimension. In 1993, physicist Gerardus Hooft published the holographic principle, which conjectures that the information of an extra dimension is visible as a curvature of space-time. Hooft has speculated that the fifth dimension is actually the fabric of space-time. For example, holograms are three-dimensional images placed on a two-dimensional surface, which gives the image a curvature when the observer moves. Similarly, in general relativity, the fourth dimension is manifested in three observable dimensions as the curvature of a path of a particle motion. What is the universe? Interest in higher dimensions reached its climax between 1870 and 1920. In those years, it became a frequent theme in fantasy literature, art, and even some scientific theories. Hyperspace is a form of space that has four or more dimensions. The term appears both in geometry and in the informal description of certain physical theories. The universe is the totality of space and time, of all forms of matter, energy, momentum, laws, and the physical constants that govern them. However, the term is also used in a different sense and alludes to concepts such as the cosmos, the wide of nature, its study on a large scale, is the object of cosmology, a discipline based on astronomy and physics, in which all aspects of this universe and its phenomena are described. According to terrestrial physics, the universe has at least 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time, although experimentally additional dimensions cannot be ruled out. Space-time appears to be simply connected, and space has very small of even zero mean curvature, so that Euclidean geometry is a general rule, almost exact throughout the universe. Change of matter. Status update. According to Mike Adams, the controllers have already lost the endgame. They have accelerated their plans because they know that their time left in power is very limited thanks to new citizen-controlled technologies and the mass awakening that will render their centralized control system obsolete. Because Aquarian energy is more individualistic and independent and less gregarious than Pisces. The technocratic the technotronic era would imply the gradual emergence of a more controlled society. Such a society would be dominated by an elite, without the constraints of traditional values. Their goal would be to exercise almost continuous surveillance over every citizen and to maintain complete up-to-date files containing even the most personal information about the citizen. These files would be subject to immediate surveillance by the authorities. Through the rapid development of open-source peer-to-peer based technologies, humans are increasingly adopting systems that make controllers irrelevant. For example, cryptocurrency renders central banks obsolete and allows people to use digital money without anyone controlling them. But this system is also used by bad guys to launder black money. On the other hand, 3D printing is making rapid advances and will soon allow everyday household consumers to print sturdy and reliable parts and objects, which would normally need to be purchased from large retail stores. Also, home gardening and urban gardens allow people to decentralize their food supply and reduce their dependence on food systems. On the other hand, dark web browsers such as Tor allow people to access decentralized websites through privacy-protected channels without relying on domain names that governments can confiscate. But again, this anonymity is also used by criminals to commit misdeeds. The video capability of cell phones allow anyone to become a citizen reporter, reporting the news far more accurately and honestly than official broadcasters. In effect, these technologies and many others take power away from central controllers and put that power back into the hands of individual citizens. Physical gold and silver currencies allow people to decentralize their real money, opting out of the rigid fiat currency debt system and storing the proceeds of their efforts in the form of physical items that never lose real value. But people want to be free and demand for freedom of opinion. Censorship can only work for a short period of time, after which the backlash would unleash humanity's greatest potential through freedom, creativity, and abundance. Finance. China and SWIFT established joint venture. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Communications, SWIFT, and the Digital Currency Research Institute of the Central Bank of China have established a joint venture with a capital of more than $12 million, this entity will enable China to strengthen its position in the global financial system. This swampy operation follows the announced decline of the SWIFT system because of its gradual replacement by the QFS quantum financial system. According to rumors, the SWIFT World Economic System ceased to exist in the USA, and as of Monday, the new transparent quantum system was put in place, but apparently China wants to continue with the old system. GameStop plunges nearly 20%. Shares of video game retailer GameStop fell nearly 20% Tuesday, to the lowest since the start of a rally spurred on social media and driven by retail investors that reverberated on Wall Street. Investors following the popular Reddit forum Wall Street Bets helped push GameStop shares to a closing high of 347 and a half on January 27th as part of a strategy to hunt hedge funds that had placed a bet against the retailer. Since then, GameStop has plummeted 85% to about $40 per share. Wall Street ends 6-day winning streak. Major stocks on the U.S. stock market ended a subdued trading day on Tuesday with mixed results, ending a 6-day winning streak for the S&P 500, although the Nasdaq imposed a new all-time high. On Tuesday, February 9th, it was no surprise to anyone in the financial world that the stock market was on the verge of collapse. Some experts say within the next 45 days, U.S. Inc. filed for bankruptcy in 2008. The private-owned U.S. Inc. Federal Reserve, which had maintained the stock market for so many years by printing fiat laws, had been operating with an expired license since last December 12. Bitcoin sets new all-time high by reaching $48,000. Bitcoin surpassed $48,000 in a new all-time high after setting a record of day earlier, the CoinDesk portal confirmed. The digital currency has been heavily promoted by Elon Musk and his electric vehicle company Tesla. Musk's tweets in support of Bitcoin appeared to have boosted the cryptocurrency. Elon Musk wants clean energy, but Tesla carries Bitcoin's dirty baggage. Tesla chief Elon Musk is a poster boy for low-carbon technology, but the electric car maker's endorsement of Bitcoin this week could accelerate global use of a currency estimated to cause more pollution than a small country each year. Tesla Inc. disclosed Monday that it had bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and would soon accept it as payment for cars, sending the price of the cryptocurrency soaring. The digital currency is created when high-powered computers compete against other machines to solve complex mathematical puzzles, an energy-intensive process that currently often relies on fossil fuels, particularly coal, the dirtiest of all. Rabobank. We have all the bizarre, surreal, incomprehensible absurdity of Kafka. We have the metamorphosis. It is happening all around us. We have the castle. It's the central banks above us. We also have it all in a bubble of pack of slide into the right. Thought with a click, get back, all assets should rise. It's an opinion of Rabobank. The Peruvian government declares mental health to be of national interest. The Peruvian government enacted a law declaring it to be of national interest to prioritize the mental health of the population, a regulation promoted by Congress in the face of the negative emotional effects of the health crisis. The law states that in order to achieve its objectives, the state must prioritize mental health in its public policies, which must be achieved through early diagnosis, prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation of patients. Impeachment. Senators vote to continue impeachment. A divided Senate on Tuesday voted largely along party lines to move forward with Trump's impeachment trial on the charge of allegedly inciting the Capitol assault. But conviction appears unlikely unless there is a major shift among Republicans. The Senate voted 56 against 44 to proceed to the first impeachment trial of a former president. Trump was unhappy with his lawyer's performance and was shouting. He was not satisfied with the argument of one of his lawyers, Bruce Castor, during the first day of his impeachment trial in Congress. Several local media reported. He left it all planned. With no Twitter account and a very low profile, Donald Trump could be showing his indifference and downplaying the importance of his second impeachment process, while his allies believed that this second impeachment trial would further clarify who are the traitors in his party. Advisors suggest that this impeachment trial has already proven to be beneficial to the former president because it would expose disloyalty within the ranks of his supporters and would provoke a grassroots backlash against Republicans who would have attempted to alienate the party's rank and file. Evictions. U.S. eviction courts are crowded with cases. Housing activists have mobilized to protect the working poor, who owe billions of dollars in back rent from being thrown out on the street. These groups are calling on the government to help the working poor who have been economically devastated by the health crisis. New hate symbols on the U.S. warships, including news, draw Navy condemnation. The top admiral of the U.S. Navy on Tuesday condemned two new racist incidents involving hate symbols on warships, which sources said included a noose left on a black sailor's bed. U.S. is deploying its bombers to Norway. The U.S. Air Force is sending its B-1B strategic bomber to Norway for the first time. And this should give Moscow a clear signal that the U.S. military is ready to protect its allies in the strategically important Arctic region, claims CNN. Spain. The hotel and catering trade in Spain is fed up with paying for the broken dishes. The hotel and catering trade praises the management of the Community of Madrid, which they have described as a real island, and the example that other autonomous communities or regions, such as Catalonia or Castile and Leon, should follow. The Spanish Hotel and Catering Associations, together with Hostelería de Madrid and the Madrid Association of Restaurant Companies, have carried out a symbolic act of protest in front of the Ministry of Finance in Madrid under the slogan, "A year of restrictions paying for the broken dishes." Judges warn about the reform of freedom of expression. The Association of Judges Professional de la Magistratura, Francisco de Victoria, and Foro Judicial Independiente request a consensus among the Spanish political forces when reforming crimes of freedom of expression, after hearing the announcement made by the government on this issue, and agree in asking for caution, depending and not hot reforms regarding any change in the penal code. The course of the 35-year-old, more and more companies are placing an age limit of 35 years in their job advertisements, and upon reaching this age, people's futures are plunged into uncertainty. This trend can put companies at risk and cause them to lose staff. Gold reserves in Spain. Spain ranks 21st in the world with more than 281 tons of gold. The 12 largest holders of gold in the world are the USA, Germany, IMF, Italy, France, Russia, China, Switzerland, Japan, India, Holland, and Turkey, according to the World Gold Council. Rain and wind starting a week marked by a train of squalls. The arrival of a train of Atlantic squalls to the peninsula, Iberic Peninsula, will leave rain, strong winds up to 90 kilometers per hour, and even snow from 1,000 and 1,200 meters throughout this week. A Spanish 2000 rumors scammer sentenced to tumors. A Spanish 2000 tumors scammer sentenced to 2 years in prison. A Spaniard known as the man with 2,000 tumors, false, of course, who in 2010 said he had months to live, was sentenced Monday to 2 years in prison for scamming celebrities and others to finance a supposed treatment. Paco Sanz managed to collect 264 euros with the excuse 64,000 euros, with the excuse that he needed resources to undergo an experimental treatment against the supposed terminal cancer he was suffering from. England. The Queen of England pressured the government to hide her wealth. Elizabeth II pressured the UK government to change the bill in order to hide her private fortune from citizens, according to the Guardian newspaper. UK government to knock on the doors of those who refuse inoculation. The UK government is considering a plan to send council staff to knock on the doors of those who has refused inoculation in an effort to coerce those who refuse injections, according to a report. The New Zealand Maori leader kicked out of parliament for not wearing tie. A New Zealand Maori leader was kicked out of parliament this week for refusing to wear a tie in the chamber, said forcing him to follow a Western dress code was a violation of his rights and an attempt to suppress indigenous culture. China. The Chinese regime is developing a sixth generation of fighter to attack Taiwan. As the Chinese regime continues to bully Taiwan by repeatedly violating the island's airspace and increasing tensions in the Taiwan Strait, it is secretly developing an advanced fighter set. Several countries around the world are developing a sixth-generation fighter jet more advanced than the fifth-generation fighter jets currently in service, including the United States, United Kingdom, Germany, Spain, France, Italy, Sweden, India, Japan, Taiwan, and Russia. China's Tianwen-1 probe enters Mars orbit. China's Taiwan-1 probe has successfully entered Mars orbit in the Asian country's first mission to the Red Planet, after traveling millions of kilometers through space. The probe, launched last July, will remain in orbit until May, when its rover separates from the probe to descend to the surface of Mars. If all goes according to plan, China would become the second country to successfully land on the Red Planet. The rover is expected to land in the southern part of Utopia Planitia, a vast plain located in the planet's northern hemisphere. First Arab space probe reaches Mars orbit also. A spacecraft from the United Arab Emirates had entered Mars orbit, a triumph for the Arab world's first interplanetary mission. Mission controllers at the Emirates Space Center in Dubai announced Tuesday that the spacecraft reached the end of its nearly 7-month, 482 million kilometer journey and began cycling the Red Planet. The Amal probe, which means hope in Arabic, will collect data on Mars' thin atmosphere. Dozens of people see two giant, mysterious twin planets in Dubai sky. A strange video showing two giant planets in the night sky over Dubai was uploaded to YouTube on February 5th. It's not known exactly where this sighting occurred, but some users have confirmed that it is at Al Qudra Road. Dozens of people witnessed the unexplained event, which they immortalized with their cell phones. They say it was an optical effect, which is saying nothing. United States. US to begin assembly of lunar outpost to no earlier than May 2024. Assembly of the lunar outpost Gateway will begin no earlier than May 2024, NASA said in a statement on Tuesday. Gateway is critical to supporting sustainable astronaut missions under NASA's Artemis program. UFO baffles Florida residents turns out to be Navy ballistic missile. An object in the Florida sky stunned local resident on February 9th who suspected it was a UFO and took to social media to share photos and videos of the phenomenon. However, the glowing ball turned out to be a US Navy Triton II ballistic missile, which was launched from a submarine for a test. CBS meteorologist Thach Covey wrote on his Twitter account, "The projectile fitted with nuclear warheads was a range of more than 11,000 kilometers." Russia. Two NASA astronauts train in Russia for a flight to the ISS. NASA astronauts Mark Van de Hey and Anne McLean, a man and a woman, are preparing at the Cosmonaut Training Center near Moscow for a flight to the International Space Station in April on the Soyuz MS-18 spacecraft. Russian space freighter Progress MS-15 and docks from the ISS at the end of its mission. The Russian cargo spacecraft Progress MS-15 has undocked from the International Space Station and will change orbits on its way to Earth. The space freighter had been docked to the ISS since July 2020, when it arrived with fuel, scientific equipment, food, water, and other products for the crew, totaling about 2 tons of cargo. Russia wants to send into space a satellite with animals on board. Poor animals. Russia is considering launching into space a satellite with animals on board for scientific research. It is the Bion-M device number 2. Initially, it was planned that this satellite would fly at an altitude of 800 kilometers above Earth's surface, while now the possibility of launching it at an altitude of 20,000 kilometers, i.e. at the level of the outer radiation belt, is being considered. I mean the belt of Van Halen. The launch could take place in 2024 and the device would remain in space for 4 weeks. Turkey wants to reach the moon in 2023. Turkish President Erdogan announced Turkey's plans to reach the moon by 2023. His space program also includes the ambitious plan to send Turkish astronauts into space and develop viable satellite system. The first lunar landing will be carried out with a national hybrid rocket, which will be launched into orbit by the end of 2023. The mysterious monolith was from the Turkish government, a metal monolith that mysteriously appeared and disappeared in a field in the southeastern Turkey near Göbekli Tepe, an archaeological place, has turned out to be a government publicity stunt to draw attention to an event Tuesday during which President Erdogan announced a space program for the country, the mentioned space program. ESA 6 new astronauts for first time in 11 years. The European Space Agency is looking for new astronauts after 11 years since the last call for applications. This Monday, the European Agency has announced that they want to recruit between 4 and 6 new astronauts, mainly women. The campaign will start next March 31 and will last until May 28. And that is all for today. Very technological. Thanks a lot for listening me, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you, friends.